Oh man, that driver just lost a package. Oh boy, you got him in. Those are your Amazon packages, folks. Holding 38. So we got 38 going one way, 33. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are on the Ariel Rider Cafe Racer 60 volt X class. Ariel Rider holds a very special place in my heart because my very first e-bike that I ever purchased was an Ariel Rider e-bike. And now we're going to take a look at one of their newest offerings, the X class that they've totally redesigned with the 60 volt system, a giant motor that is labeled to be 750 watt nominal. We'll find out how much power that thing can put out, an extremely comfortable bench seat, turn signals, and more. The X class comes in 3 different versions. The one that you see here, the one that I have today, is the Cafe Racer version, but they do also offer the off-road version, which is going to give you some rear suspension, and the performance version, which is going to give you a secondary battery and a different front headlight. And the performance edition is advertised to have the most torque out of all 3 versions. Prices of these e-bikes are always fluctuating based on whatever sale might be going on, so to get the most up-to-date price, check the link in the description below, and I might even have a coupon code down there as well that could save you a couple bucks. First, what we're going to do is take a look at the specs and components of this bike, and then we're going to take it out for a test ride. Let's jump right in. Starting at the top, we have faux leather handlebar grips, which are locking from both sides. Ariel Rider branded hydraulic disc brake levers, and on the right we have a half twist throttle. For controls, we have 2 sets of controls. Let's start on the left. The light switch button at the bottom will turn on or off all the lights on the bike. However, as you can see around the entire front headlight, there's what I would call a daytime running light. When you do turn the headlights on, the top light will turn on. However, when you flip this switch, you get what I would call the high beam. Nice. And it looks like all the lights are run off of a 12 volt system, which means that if you found a different 12 volt headlight, you can easily add it onto this bike. At the bottom, we have a horn button, which is very loud. And here's your turn signal selector. Let's see what the left signal looks like. I love that this bike gives you an indicator that the turn signal is on, because a lot of e-bikes don't have that and you end up forgetting that the signal is even on. On top of this arrow being here, you also get a tiny bit of blue light which will illuminate the turn signal from the back. Not that visible in the daytime, but probably more visible at night. Off, on, off, on. See that? Here's what the front signal looks like. That is very bright and very visible. I love that it's sticking nice and far out from the bike. That's going to make it easy to see. And here's the rear turn signal. Here's what the rear light looks like, and here's what it looks like when you hit the brakes. Here's what it looks like while it's off and you hit the brakes. Let's take a look at the display of this bike. So now that the display is turned on, you can see basic information like your speedometer, your pedal assist level, and you can cycle through your max speed, your average speed, back to speedometer. We get our battery bar up here. Double tapping the power button will get you into your P settings, and on the screen I'll put up what all these settings are. Now, out of the box, this bike is a class 2 bike, which means the throttle is going to top out at 20 miles an hour. But if you guys go ahead and get the Bike Go Plus app, you can sync up your X class to the app. Go ahead and connect to the bike, go into the settings, and I can increase the speed limit all the way up to 100. Save that. And now when I hit the throttle, we got our full speed. Now here's something you guys should know. When you do turn the bike off, let's say we turn the bike off, there it is. The app disconnected, and let's say we turn the bike back on, the bike will reset back down to a max speed of 20 miles an hour. And that could be both a good and a bad thing, depending on where you live, depending on what you're looking for. If you do want this bike unlocked permanently, my buddy Jonathan over at Mr. Central Driver did find a way to do so. I will leave a link to that video in the description below, so you guys can permanently unlock your bike. But I could see some people wanting this feature. For example, let's say they were going 30 plus miles an hour and they're getting pulled over and they quickly turn the bike off and on, and all of a sudden that bike is immediately back to a class 2 setting. I could see a lot of people using this function. But at least you guys have the option of keeping this setting or permanently unlocking the bike. The handlebar on this bike does have a lot of rise to it, which I do appreciate. I always love an upright riding position. And this bike does come with a dual crown fork, preload adjustment on one side, compression and lockout adjustment on the other. And this fork is advertised to have 80 millimeters of travel. And the wheel is held in with what I would say is the best design, a through axle. This bike comes with front and rear plastic fenders. For brakes, we get absolutely ginormous 203 millimeter rotors. These do look like they are on the thicker side as well, with these awesome looking quad piston calipers. Same exact setup in the back. This bike has 20-inch spoked wheels with this hybrid treaded 20 by 4.5-inch tire. These things look nice and comfy, and the back tire is actually even wider. It is a 5-inch wide tire, which is going to give you even more traction. And these are Innova branded tires. They do have some chunkiness to them, but they're not as aggressive as a lot of other off-road tires out there. I would say these are mostly designed for the road with light trail use. Cable management does look great up top. Looks okay on the bottom as well. I could probably clean that up a little bit better with some zip ties. And it does run directly into the frame. Speaking of frame, check this out. This is a very, very nice looking frame. Very robust looking construction. And I want to point out this construction down here. Look at this giant metal plate all throughout here. This looks like some type of a torque plate that the axle of this giant motor sits inside. Something tells me that the construction of this is extra strong based on how much attention they put into this back end. There is an additional power button on the side of the bike, which will turn the entire system on or off. So if this is off, you will not get any power from the battery to the bike. On the frame, you get lots of different mounting points for maybe a water bottle holder or other accessories. Same thing up top, which looks like a great spot to mount a second battery. And on the frame, you do get a Class 2 label, 750 watt, 20 miles an hour. And some warnings over here telling you that the operator must be over 16 years old and always wear a helmet. And you can scan this QR code for a safety check on this bike. And that safety check will bring you straight to Ariel Rider's website telling you how to safely operate the C-Bike. And like I mentioned, this is a hardtail bike, so there is no suspension. If you didn't want suspension, you could check out some of the other versions of this bike in the description below. Lots more holes in the side for additional accessories, maybe a rear rack or something else. Looks like we have some holes at the bottom as well, probably good for foot pegs in case you have a passenger on this very long seat. And let's talk about this seat, because this is one of the nicest, squishiest bench seats I've ever seen on any e-bike before. This is a very, very nice seat, guys. A big upgrade a lot of people make to their bikes right off the bat is a seat upgrade. Something tells me you guys will not need to upgrade this seat whatsoever. This is really, really nice. We got this big Ariel Rider logo in the back. The battery on this bike is advertised to be a 60 volt, 20 amp hour battery using Samsung cells, which they say has a heat absorbing resin and is UL compliant. You do get a charge port on the side of the bike, and in there, the battery itself also has a charge port cover. To take the battery out, take one of the supplied keys, throw it in that recessed keyhole, turn the key, and the battery unlocks. And then up here, you press this button to remove the whole battery. There's our label, 60 volts, 20 amp hours, 1200 watt hours. Up top, you get a carrying handle. This battery is extremely heavy, and I do believe that there is 20 amp hours in here. Wow. And to put it back, you simply line the bottom up. Make sure you turn the key and then push the battery in. It will latch in place. We're gonna take the key out, and then you can click the battery back in place. Let's take a look at this motor. So if you notice, this thing is massive. This is a very large geared hub motor, and Ariel Rider advertises this motor to be a nominal 750 watts. They advertise this motor to peak at 110 Newton meters of torque. The controller and some other electronics on this bike are going to sit underneath this plastic part, which sits right under the seat. And on the screen, I'll leave what the theoretical peak wattage output is of this motor based on a fully charged 60 volt battery and the peak amperage of the controller under the seat. The back only comes with one single gear and a chain tensioner. And you also get a medium-sized chainring, which comes with 2 plastic guards and basic metal pedals. Now the saddle height of this bike is on the taller side. This is advertised to be 34.5 inches, and because there's no suspension, it's not going to go down at all. once you sit down on the bike. And here's what I look like on this bike. I am 5'10" with an inseam of 29 inches. I can reach the ground with my toes, and as for the riding position, it's not too upright, but it's also not too forward leaning. I would say it's right in between. And here's what that suspension travel looks like up front. That is very nice. And this Cafe Racer version is advertised to weigh just about 100 pounds. As always, we are going to start our testing with the 0 to 20 acceleration test, throttle only. We're going to be using our draggy. And I did unlock this bike. You do need the smartphone app to unlock the bike. If you guys want to see how to do that, go watch the specs and components portion of this video. And if you want to permanently unlock this bike, I will leave a link in the description below to my buddy Jonathan's video over at Mr. Central Driver. He's got a video on how you can permanently unlock your X-Class. Without further ado, 3, 2, 1, go! All right, pretty strong start. Speedometer says 20, draggy says 5.85 seconds. Let's check the speedometer accuracy. Looks like we're pretty accurate. Maybe off by 1 mile an hour or so, no big deal. And I can change the wheel size right over here. Let's bring it down to 23. See if that changes anything. Looks like we are a little bit better now. Say less than 1 mile an hour difference. Nice. Next up is our long hill climb test, throttle only. 3, 2, 1, go. Here we go. Let's see how we do. And if you guys want to support these reviews and you like content like this, please feel free to subscribe to the channel if I've earned your subscription. Like the video if you like it, smash the notification bell so you don't miss any future content, and leave a comment below. So far, what do you think of this X-Class Cafe Racer moped style e-bike? Look at this. That was pretty good. That felt like it was quick. You guys will see the time on the leaderboard, and if you do want to see full leaderboard information, visit MaximumChargeEV.com. Free spinning wheel test goes all the way up to 44 miles an hour. This screen seems to be a little bit on the dim side. I don't know if there's a way to increase the brightness, at least from the app. Moving on to our downhill speed test. Let's see how fast we can get to that 44 mile an hour free spinning wheel speed. Looks like we're topping off at 37 miles an hour, somewhere on there, 38. And I do transition to the sidewalk for a very short bit on my review route. And unfortunately, I do feel that this is a hardtail bike. I do feel the bumps a lot more than if this had suspension in it. The tire does help. That big 5-inch wide fat tire in the back does help smooth out bumps a little bit, especially if you lower the tire pressure. And the wide squishy seat also does help. But if you guys are in for a comfortable ride, I would highly recommend getting at least the off-road version of this bike. I'll link that in the description below. Handlebar width tests, not too narrow, not too wide, just right. And turning tests, not too bad, about 45 degrees. That will not affect your riding whatsoever, but it might make this bike a little bit harder to maneuver if you're in your garage or if you're in a tight hallway and you're trying to get this bike around some tight corner. Although it's not that heavy of a bike, so I don't see why you couldn't just lift the bike up from the back end to maneuver it around. All right, steep hill climb test. We're gonna start at the line. We got our GPS speedometer out. 3, 2, 1, go. Let's see how we do. 60-volt system. Wow, wow. We're doing pretty good, guys. Look at that. We're holding 12 miles an hour. We dipped down to 11 for a split second, but almost all of that was 12. That is very, very good torque. And the performance version of this bike is listed at having even higher torque. But I'm happy to know that this base Cafe Racer model already has fantastic power. Moving on to our 20 mile an hour brake test, where we're gonna use these parking spots to measure the brake distance of this bike from 20 miles an hour. Ready, and brake. All right. So, there it is. We started our braking there, went through one spot, and we are somewhere around in the middle of the second spot. Braking isn't too bad. It's pretty good. It is acceptable. I was expecting a little bit more from these large rotors and large calipers, although this is actually my first ride out on this bike, so Maybe if the brake pads were bedded in a little bit more, it would be a tiny bit better. I do want to say that because this bike is so high up, I don't think it's going to happen, but I feel instinctively like when I brake really hard, the back end might come up. I didn't feel it come up, but just because the back end is so high up, and in comparison, the front isn't all that high, it just kind of feels like the bike might flip over. It's not going to happen. Again, I didn't feel the back end lift up, but it just made me a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe that's just me, but in terms of braking performance, I would say we are A-okay. We are in the acceptable level for brake distance on this bike. Oh man, that driver just lost a package. Oh boy, you got him in. There you go. Those are your Amazon packages, folks. Hopefully, if you're watching this video, you don't live on that street. All right, we are approaching our top speed testing site. We have our GPS speedometer out. We're gonna go both ways to try and negate for the effects of wind and elevation changes. And by the way, I am 200 pounds and it is about 70 degrees outside. Wait for all this traffic to clear.
A few moments later.
Oh boy.
One eternity later.
Here we go. We're gonna pedal up to speed and see where the throttle takes us. Pedal, pedal, pedal. Looks like ghost pedaling is at just about 30 miles an hour. Let's tuck down. 33, 34, 36, 37. Oh, it's on 38. There you go. Holding 38. All right, so we got 38 going one way. Let's see what we get going the other way. 33. I guess we'll try that again. Here we go. Pedal, 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 pedal. Get us up to speed as fast as possible. All right, pretty much ghost pedaling at 30-ish miles an hour. We're tucked down. 36, 37, holding 37, still holding 37. All right, so we got 38 going one way, 37 going the other way. And I do know that the performance version of this bike does go just over 40 miles an hour. Checking the pedal assist level speeds. Looks like level 1 gives us just about 12 miles an hour, maybe 11 miles an hour. Level 2 gives us somewhere around 13. Level 3 gives us about 17 miles an hour. Level 4 will give us, looks like about 31 miles an hour. And of course, level 5 will probably give you that 38 mile an hour top speed. For a powerful geared hub motor, this motor is on the quieter side. And when you combine that with these smooth treaded tires, this bike isn't gonna be all that loud rolling down the road. Look at this. This is why we get e-bikes, folks. You can bypass this entire thing over here. It's all this nonsense. And I hear that if I get off my bike and just walk, I'm not gonna get into trouble with this school bus over here. Let's talk about the seating position and the touch points. So once again, the seat on this bike is on the taller side. It is almost 35 inches tall. And because it is a hardtail, that seat will not go down once you are on the bike. So this bike does feel a little bit on the taller side when you're riding around. Again, I'm 5'10" with a 29-inch inseam. So my guess is that if you are maybe shorter than 5'7", I'd probably get the suspension versions. That way you can more easily reach the ground once you're seated on the bike. The seat itself on this bike is extremely comfortable. It is very, very comfortable. Squishy in the middle, squishy on the edges. I could see myself sitting on the seat for a long time and going for a very long bike ride. And the rear tire, being 5 inches wide, does absorb some impacts from bumps on the road, but it won't replace rear suspension. The grips on this bike are very nice. I do appreciate the ergonomically styled handlebar grip, so I can just rest my hands on the handlebars versus having to death grip them. Jeez, tons of traffic around here. We're gonna go a different way. I do appreciate all the electronics that Ariel Rider has given you on this bike. Nice loud horn. This thing is pretty loud. Dedicated light switch with high and low beams. You get the turn signals there with an indicator if the turn signal is on or off. I cannot emphasize just how important that is. And I kind of do like how you can unlock this bike through the app and then quickly bring it back into the locked Class 2 mode almost instantly by simply turning the bike off and then back on. That is a really awesome feature to have. But again, you can permanently unlock this bike if you want. Like I said, I will leave a link in the description below to a video that will show you how to do that. The fit and finish on this bike is fantastic. This isn't a cheap bike, even though this is their base model X-Class. When you actually get this bike, you realize that it is very, very well built. The paint job looks fantastic. The front fork is high quality. The frame design is very robust. And it seems like it's going to be very strong, especially with those reinforced rear dropouts. The brakes on this bike feel fantastic as well. And I'm happy that Ariel Rider didn't throw on just some cheap generic tires on this bike. These Innova hybrid treaded tires do feel phenomenal, and they sound great as well. They are very confidence inspiring when you're on this smooth surface, although I wouldn't call them off-road tires. But you wouldn't want to take this bike off-road anyway, especially considering it does not have any rear suspension. This might be a tall order, but the only thing I wish were different about this bike is its size. I wish it were a little bit shorter. That way it can accommodate shorter riders a little bit better. Because right now that seat is, again, a little bit on the taller side. So if you are a smaller rider, this might not be the best bike for you. Again, prices of these e-bikes are always fluctuating based on whatever sale might be going on. So to get the most up-to-date price, check the link in the description below. And I will also leave the other versions of this bike listed down there as well. The off-road version, which is just like this one, but it also has that rear suspension. And the performance version, which comes with that second battery, better suspension, and more powerful system. And you also get a brighter headlight with that one as well. Let me know what you think of the Ariel Rider X-Class Cafe Racer version. Is this the version you would buy, or would you get a different one? What do you think of this base model? How do you guys think it performed? Let me know in the comments below. And if you guys don't want to buy this bike, but you do want to support my reviews, please feel free to subscribe to the channel if I have earned your subscription. Like the video if you like it. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. And you guys can follow me on social media. I am on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and I have 2 Facebook groups, E-Bike Addicts and High Speed E-Bikes, 40 miles an hour and up. Oh, and I also have a Twitter account that I never use. And that is it for today, folks. Until next time.